So Manasseh, he puts up this book in total denigration of Akufo-Addo. Total denigration of Akufo-Addo. That's to be understood, of course. If it wasn't Akufo-Addo, Manasseh would still be working at Joy FM. If it wasn't Akufo-Addo, Manasseh would not have been embarrassed with his documentary on, what do they call it? The militia thing. He wouldn't have been embarrassed with the most embarrassing documentary he did. Akufo-Addo called him out. That cost him his job at Joy FM. And so naturally he has a problem with Akufo-Addo, which is to be understood, no problem. We're in a democracy, everybody can write. But, whereas this book is a total denigration of Akufo-Addo, people like Napo have taken stray bullets, haven't they? And I'll come to the Napo issue. Manasseh can say anything he wants about Akufo-Addo, but let me talk to him directly now. Manasseh, my father and your father had many children, okay? My uncles had many children. I'm sure your uncles also had many children. And some of our parents could not even take care of their children. We know how our fathers were. They have many children, they can't take care of their children. If you look at Akufo-Addo and you feel that you have to denigrate him, remember those children in your hometown who have benefited from free SHS. Now, whether you like it or not, whether any Ghanaian likes it or not, free SHS is the most influential social policy intervention in the history of Ghana. Akufo-Addo's free SHS, wherein he committed taxpayers' money to look after young, poor children, like some of our relatives, like some of our fathers' children. Those of our fathers who had children that they knew they can't take care of. Maybe my father was one, maybe your father was one. We can't begrudge them, they are gone, it's fine. But these are fathers who know the work they are doing, either a watchman, whatever you are, and then you go and have 13 children, you know you cannot take care of them. And that has continued, that process has continued. People still do that. You can't begrudge them, you can only advise them. You can't tell them to stop having children. Akufo-Addo recognized the ills of our father. Manasseh, put his photograph there. Akufo-Addo recognized the irresponsibility of my father and your father. The irresponsibility, the gross irresponsibility, Manasseh, of my father and your father. Our fathers were grossly irresponsible, having children when they know they are watchmen and they can't pay for it. My father and your father did that. Both of us, our fathers did that. Akufo-Addo recognizes that some fathers will be irresponsible, grossly irresponsible to have children that they know they cannot take care of. Now, those children have become Ghanaians. They become property of Ghana. Those children are talented. Look at you, Manasseh. Look at other people. You are talented. Akufo-Addo says that I will not let this talent go to waste. I will educate Ghanaian children. And you, Manasseh, of all people, your relatives have benefited from free SHS. Our fathers were irresponsible, having many children as watchmen. They were irresponsible. Our fathers were irresponsible. And then you come here knowing that our fathers have been irresponsible and children have been born and they can't educate themselves. And the parents cannot take care of them. There's a president who comes and says that, come what may, I will put the taxpayers' money to educate these talented children because it's not their fault that they were born by irresponsible parents. It's not their fault. They have been born as Ghanaians. They are talented. They can become great. One child can redeem a whole village. One child can redeem a town. So Akufo-Addo says, I will put money to it so that every child is educated. And you feel that is, you have to write a book to denigrate him because he cost you your job at Joy FM, well, we will all answer to God. That's all I can say about the Akufo-Addo part. Let me go to some other part. Give me the free SHS photograph. Give me the free SHS photograph. Give it to me, the free SHS photograph. They'll put it there in a minute. Yes, these are the young children who are excited about the man that Manasseh says didn't do anything for Ghana. Manasseh Azuri says Akufo-Addo didn't do anything for Ghana. Everything he did for Ghana was to steal Ghana's money. The money that he stole, that he used to educate these young children. Go and ask John Mahama and Fifi Kwete that the survey that they conducted for this election about social policy, what did the survey tell them? The survey told them that 98% of Ghanaians applaud free SHS. And they don't applaud free SHS just as a policy. They also applaud the spirit behind initiating free SHS. That spirit that God put in Akufo-Addo. It is God who put in Akufo-Addo. It's not even about Akufo-Addo. It's God who put it in him because he made his mind willing to help Ghana in that regard. Presidents will come, presidents will go. A man comes, everybody makes mistakes. But that single social intervention is the best social intervention from Kwame Nkrumah's time up to today. This country has never seen a social intervention like that. Now let me talk about Kwame Nkrumah, our first president. Dr. Nkrumah inherited money from the British. He decided to have free education in the north. He had inherited money. Akufo-Addo inherited debt from John Dramani Mahama's government. He decided to initiate free SHS for everybody in Ghana. Not in the north, not in Bono Ahafo, not in Kumasi, not in KJB, Manasseh's hometown, not in Oti region, not in Accra, but the entire Ghanaian Republic. That every child born in Ghana, once you have finished JSS, you must have a right to go to SSS, and the government will pay for it. Not just that, the government will feed you. If you are in boarding house, if you are in a day student, the government will build a dining hall and feed you. That's Akufo-Addo's legacy that Manasseh is trying to denigrate, because Akufo-Addo cost him his job at Joy FM. Interesting times ahead. We are going to be dealing with this in detail. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Give me Akufo-Addo's photograph again. Thank you, Mr. President. Nobody can denigrate your record. That single thing that you have done, hearing the voice of God, that you decided that you are going to put the taxpayers' money to educate children of our irresponsible parents. Our parents will go and have 13 children knowing that they are a watchman. Our parents, they know they are watchman. They are going to have 13 children. And God puts in your heart and in your mind, and you received it, that you are going to use the taxpayers' money to educate the children. Today, you have educated over 2 million Ghanaians with the taxpayers' money. God bless you, Mr. President. God bless you. God bless you again. That's what I have to say about the Akufo-Addo part of the book. Turn it around. Let's move to the rest. Now, on to Manasseh. I find some of the material in the book is completely irrelevant. What should we do with Chief Justice Eni Yeboah? Manasseh, you said Chief Justice Eni Yeboah was not Akufo-Addo's choice, and it was his choice last minute. You said Professor Michael Quay was Akufo-Addo's choice. So what should we do? What is the journalism value in that? I don't understand it. This is dead news. Eni Yeboah has served his term and gone. Michael Quay has served his term and gone. And you are now coming to tell us the way in which they were appointed, which itself doesn't carry anything. They were appointed by Akufo-Addo shifting position on Thursday to Friday. So what? I mean, these people, Manasseh, do you want us to know that you have information? Yeah, thank you very much. You have information. What? It's a useless information, by the way. It's totally useless information. Some of the things in the book, I'm yet to complete it, but some of this is very, very irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Maybe when people don't have anything to do to make an impact, they try to do something building on their own. You see, let us all try as young people not to be victims of the future. And I talk about something called victims of the future. Now, a victim of the future is one who in the future is referring to his past. That, oh, I was this, oh, I was that, oh, I was that. Now, it's a certain mental situation. So sometimes you want to still be what you used to be, but you have not been able to do the work that keeps you there. So you go back and try and put a book together and tell us irrelevant things. Completely irrelevant. Eni Yeboah has served his term as Chief Justice. He's gone. You say that you are telling us that when he was becoming Chief Justice, Akufo-Addo was not sure about it. So what should we do? Anyway, okay, that's okay. Now, there's another matter that Manasseh raises, which is very, very dangerous, and I'd like to address that as well. The Parliament one. Here it is. Chief of Staff sends money to Parliament's Appointments Committee to facilitate approvals. Manasseh book claims. Now, this is very, very dangerous, extremely dangerous. And you see, I always talk like this about some of our investigative journalist people, making themselves look better and the institutions look bad. A society is built with wisdom. Society is built with wisdom, is built with candor, is built with understanding. That's even in the Bible. Now, the Parliament of Ghana is an important institution of the Ghanaian democratic edifice. If you, Manasseh, as a single person, wants to be popular, so you come and say things like that you cannot even prove about the Parliament of Ghana, I don't know why the members of Parliament on both NDC and MPP are looking at this and laughing about it. I don't know why the Clerk of Parliament is looking at this and is not writing to Manasseh to give them information and evidence on this and flatly denying it. The Chief of Staff gave money to members of Parliament. Now, our Parliament is all we have. It is an important institution of state. So Manasseh writes a book to denigrate Parliament because he needs relevance. The guy has become so irrelevant that because he's looking for relevance, he writes a book to denigrate the Parliament and everybody is watching. Civil society, what's his name? Dr. Kwesi Prempeh, CDD. What's his name? Opumpuni, CDD. Franklin Kujo, Imani. You're all watching. It's okay for the Parliament of Ghana to be denigrated with rumors by an investigative journalist who may be taken seriously by some people. Many years ago, the learned former Attorney General, Joe Garte, told me a story Mr. Garte was speaking to me in his office. This is sometime around 2007. And I was talking to him about politics. And he said, Paul, you know what? These are politicians. I don't think that they have understood the democracy that occurs in England and America. You know why people think politicians are thieves? He quizzed. I said, tell me. He said, because politicians who want to win election come to tell the people that my colleague politician is a thief because he wants to win election. And by saying that, the general Ghanaian populace have begun to feel that politicians are thieves because the politician comes to tell the non-politician that the other politician is a thief and so he shouldn't vote for him. If you want to be voted for, you can say why you have to be voted for. But if you come and say somebody is a thief, you are denigrating the very institution that is going to build and hold our country together in future. This is the character of people like this. They are so unpatriotic. They are so selfish about themselves. Manasseh, I'm suggesting to you that this act is a selfish act about yourself, looking for relevance. If you're looking for relevance, do a news story, we will like it. Don't look for relevance by denigrating the Parliament of Ghana. Now, minority leader and majority leader, are you looking at this and you think it's laughable? The minority leader, K. Salato Forsen, majority leader, Alexander Fenyo-Makin, you are looking at this and you think that it is laughable, that Manasseh Azuri says the Parliament was taking bribe from no less a person than the high office of the Chief of Staff. And it's okay. Watch the English Premier League, viewers. You know it's about to start this week. Now, in the English Premier League, you know what they do? If you are a coach in the English Premier League, yeah, and you see a referee mishandle a game, even if you have sufficient evidence and everything shows the referee mishandled the game, if you don't know and you talk about it, they fine you. Why? Because they don't want to denigrate the institution of the Premier League. That's what they have. They have to protect it and uplift the image. Not that they do not know that the referee may have mishandled the game, because they punish the referees too. But they don't want you to talk about it publicly. Because that's what I'm saying, that societies are built by wisdom. Societies are not built by selfishness and flippancy and going to make people know that you have some information that people don't have. This is what hurts me about how we allowed such things to become journalism. Because that's not journalism in England. That is why before you become a journalist in England, they check you out. You must have studied here. You must have studied there. You must have studied this. You must know that before you become a journalist. But here, you can become a journalist anyhow. So people become journalists that they don't have the wisdom of how to build the society. They are talking about the Parliament of Ghana. The Parliament of Ghana is a corrupt parliament. That's what Manasseh is saying. Just so that he looks good and the Parliament of Ghana looks bad. You point no less a person as the Chief of Staff. And that's what I'm talking about in English Premier League. When referee Graham Taylor has done something wrong, it is not that the Premier League doesn't know he has done something wrong. But if you are Arsene Wenger, you are Alex Ferguson, you are Eric Ten Hag, or you are Mikel Arteta, you are not allowed to publicly denigrate the referee's performance of the English Premier League. You will be fined. Nevertheless, that the referee may also be punished. But they are protecting the institution. Never would you hear a British member of parliament call another British member of parliament a thief. Even if the evidence abound, he will never come out publicly. When they are having the committee meeting, they will shut the door and say that it's in camera. You watch CNN, when the American Congress is having committee meetings, they bring in Mark Zuckerberg. They are talking to him and they said, okay, Mr. Chairman, at this stage, we have to now get the media out and ask Mr. Zuckerberg further questions. Why do they do that? They want to protect the institution of the United States of America and its Congress. That's what we have to learn. To learn that, we have to talk some sense into the heads of people like Manasseh Azuri, who feel that they have a right now to denigrate anything in Ghana just so that they become relevant. This is terrible, and people must speak about it. Those who don't speak about it, it is coming after you. Because that's how societies are built. Societies are built with wisdom. What are you talking about? You go and write about the Parliament of Ghana in this way so that you are the hero. You are a hero. That's what has happened to our GFA. Anas made himself a hero on number 12 and our football collapsed. Which is better? That Anas, one individual of 30 million, is a hero? Is that how we want to build a society? Civil society. Kwesi Prempeh. You think this is okay? You all know what happens in America. You think this is okay? No problem. Let it be okay. Clerk of Parliament, I am waiting to see the letter that you write about this, because this is a serious matter. It says, Chief of Staff sends money to Parliament Appointments Committee to facilitate approvals. I have not heard any member of Parliament's Appointments Committee say this. Alhassan Suhini, my good brother, You are a member of the appointments committee. Did you also receive some of Chief of Staff's money? Alasan, if you didn't, you have an active Facebook page. Please publish it. Okujeto Ablakwa, Vigilante. Did you also receive Chief of Staff's money? If you didn't receive Chief of Staff's money, you have an active Facebook page. Let's see what's happening. Manasseh Azuri is not denigrating Akufo-Addo and Chief of Staff. He is denigrating the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, which is the most important institution in our democratic edifice. And that's very dangerous. Let's have a look at that. Okay, let's go to the next stage then. Manasseh talks about Napo. And I can't even believe what he says. I can't believe what he says. And I'm going to show you. Manasseh, I'm guessing that you have a hatred for Napo. Maybe he has a hatred for chieftaincy. And that's what some people told me that, oh, don't you know, Manasseh has a hatred for chieftaincy. I don't know, I don't believe it. But from the way he talks, you definitely have a hatred for Napo. Because the comparison he draws and says, I prefer the Nana to Napo. I'm going to deal with it in detail. But before then, let's look at this. Look at Manasseh's relationship with Napo in the last 2 months. Manasseh's relationship with Napo in the last 2 months. Look at it. 2 hours after Napo was unveiled as a running mate, there comes Manasseh with the most derogatory statement about the medical doctor that he's talking like a KJT market preacher. You remember that? You all remember that? 2 hours, Napo had not even reached home. He hadn't reached his house after the event at Jubilee Park in Kumasi. He hadn't gotten home. When Manasseh came to espouse some communication students thing, which even turned out to be a total hogwash, because communication students should be speaking the opposite. He says, as a student of communication studies, I saw his body language as more of a KJT market preacher than that of a running mate. 2 hours after Napo had been outdoored, 2 hours, you came to say this about him. What happened next? Somebody comes and says, TJ Baba says that, my brother Manasseh, fortunately for us in the MPP, it is the KJT market traders who will be voting, and we are particularly excited seeing him speaking their language. That was what a very sensible TJ Baba told Manasseh. 2 hours after Napo had been outdoored, your hatred for Napo had started. And then you come back here, Manasseh says that in my previous post, okay, let me read it well. He says, in my previous post, my intention was not to demean KJT preachers or any group of persons. I observed that the MTP's running mate delivered his speech in the manner market preachers speak. In fact, KJT came to mind, Manasseh says, because of where the program was held. But I could have used Kaneshi Makola and the meaning would still have been the same, without intending to offend any group of people. To the extent that some people are hurt by the mention of KJT and understand it to be an attack on some particular group of people, I unreservedly apologize to anyone who suffered. This is Manasseh talking. Your hatred for Napo is obvious. This is the same man that Manasseh says he's benefited from before. And there's no problem with Manasseh benefiting from Napo or anybody like that. There's no problem with that. But you, Manasseh, told us that you sent a book to Napo and you were excited with the way he wrote. In fact, there's something in there that says that Napo has been very kind to him, etc., etc. So Manasseh did the same thing to ABAJ. ABAJ told me that Manasseh comes to his house to eat and to share pleasantries with him and to take largesse from him. So Manasseh was his friend. And he didn't know that Manasseh had hatred for him. Manasseh went to interview him and slipped in a question that was not part of the interview. And ABAJ found his job lost. Later on, the High Court vindicated him. But this is what Manasseh is doing again. If you hate people, don't go near them, Manasseh. Let them know that you hate them. Manasseh's hatred for Napo and chieftaincy and the things that Napo represents is very, very obvious. 2 hours after the man had become running mate, you wrote that about him, that he's KJT market preacher. When we all came after you, then you said you're apologizing because you forgot that you, Manasseh, you and I, we belong to the KJT market preacher. It's only God that has done us good. If God didn't do us good, Manasseh, you and me, we are all belong to that group of people who have to go to the market to fend for themselves because our fathers had children that they can't take care of. You and me, we are together in that. And today, you denigrate KJT market preachers because God has helped you for you to have a pen and for you to gain admission to UCC. You gain admission to UCC. So you've forgotten your background. You come and insult KJT market preachers, forgetting that you and I belong there. That's where we come from. We are the men of the earth because of who our fathers were. They are not people with means. Our fathers are not people with means. So you and I belong there. And then you come and denigrate KJT market preachers. just because you hate Napo. Your hatred for Napo is so palpable. Now, let me show you, viewers, why I'm saying that. So the comparison is between Napo and Nana Opoko-Agyeman, isn't it? And Manasseh says, you can leave it as silent. You can leave it however you want it. Anybody can say, I prefer Nana Opoko-Agyeman to Napo. Of course, many NDC people will say that, and you cannot begrudge them. But as a journalist, whether you are neutral or you are not neutral, you cannot say that you prefer Nana Opoko-Agyeman over Napo. Now, let me show you why, viewers. Napo is a doctor and a politician. Nana Opoko-Agyeman has never been a doctor before. She's been a politician before, but she's never been a doctor before. Nana Opoko-Agyeman is a teacher at the university who rose to the high level of vice-chancellor. In fact, the first vice-chancellor of a university in Ghana. So, Napo cannot compare with Nana Opoko-Agyeman on vice-chancellorship because he hasn't done that before. Nana cannot compare to Napo on medicine because he hasn't done that before. The only thing that the two people have done before is what I've written in the middle, education. Nana Opoko-Agyeman has been Minister for Education. Napo has been Minister for Education. If Manasseh, a journalist of supposedly high repute, makes a suggestion that Nana Opoko-Agyeman is preferred, it obviously means that he is assessing the two candidates on what both of them have done before, i.e. education. Okay, who in Ghana, the deepest green blood NDC, the deepest one, who in Ghana can say, even Nana Opoko-Agyeman cannot say that. Who in Ghana can say that education, Nana Opoko-Agyeman's tenure from 2013 to 2016 was better than Napo's tenure from 2017 to 2020? No Ghanaian can say that. Nobody can say that. Viewers, if you can say that, send a text. Send a text and show me that Nana Opoko-Agyeman's tenure at education was better than Napo. No Ghanaian. In fact, our NDC friends, when Napo was nominated, they told us that, Charlie, you go this one day, you won't bring Napo so that we talk. We're not going to talk about education. Napo is arrogant. That's what they used to say. That's what the NDC people used to say, because they know that you cannot compare Nana Opoko-Agyeman to Napo on education and say that Nana Opoko-Agyeman is the most preferred. But because of Manasseh Azuri's hatred for Napo, that's what he did. He put it in the book. That's what Manasseh Azuri did. His hatred for Napo is what has brought this book, because that hatred was demonstrated just 2 hours after Napo was unveiled. You came to write a faux pas, which later you had to apologize for. Shame on you. You have too much hatred in you, Manasseh. Too much hatred. Drop it. Drop the hatred and pray to God. Go to your pastor, Mensa Otabel. He will help you. You have too much hatred in you, Manasseh. Too much hatred. Nobody's problem it is. Me too, my father had many children he couldn't take care of. I don't hate anybody for that. I pray to God for forgiveness and that I will not be like my father. It is nobody's fault. That you and I were on the ground is nobody's fault. God has helped us. Stop the hatred. Too much hatred in your hearts. Why? What has Napo done to you? 2 hours after Napo was unveiled, you came to talk some things about him that you had to withdraw. And now you make the most ridiculous statement that Nana Opoko-Agyeman is preferred to Napo. What is the base of your assessment? The only basis of your assessment has to be education. And on education, you cannot honestly say that. Then you are a totally dishonest human being. Okay, let's move to Atubiga, who has a lot to say about Napo. Have a look at this. Atubiga.
Obine peja mami Jane. Eti se ye kafu gbantu. Ehwe John Dramani Mahama se. Eno bo kafu mi drama oje no. Omo mfa ho se party ni accept. Party members ni pin so. E ke party strategical ho. Ena o ye Napo. Ene me mami Nana Gina. Napo ye Johnny Walker. Napo ye Red Label. What you say? Napo ye whiskey. Mami, udi wo mo compare. Eya patashi. Me mama te say palm wine, local palm wine tapper. Because we do much no so munye debater. I say we are bone Benz. It will match. Napo a seasoned politician, all politics no. Ebia me
Stephen Atubiga on there. All right, we have a lot to share. We have a lot to share today. Maybe let me take text messages right now, and then we'll come back and do the rest of OSP and the former OSP Martin. Ben's Kaiser Amidu. Amidu has written something. Let's go straight to what Amidu wrote, and then we can discuss it. So this is what Amidu wrote. Let's read it quickly. Airbus scandal. What was the state's interest? He starts. The interests of the state were 1, to uncover the government official 1, and the intermediaries, especially intermediary 5, and the people behind company D. He goes on. On the reports by the OSP, it can be seen that the OSP did interest protective job. That's how he calls it. Interest protective job than the state's interest job. He, Martin Amidu continues, referring to the OSP, he seems to be decorating the victims of the accused instead of going straight to the point. What is the point then? He starts. Firstly, this case was held in the UK and in the US, which the Airbus company was invited to assist in the investigations, which they did by confirming they paid bribe to state officials and intermediary 5, which allowed them to meet government official 1 in Ghana and in other countries. Similar actions were taken. The courts punished them for not doing the right thing to prevent the company from engaging in corruption activities. Martin Amidu continues. He says, so from the go, it has been established that inappropriate activities took place. So in Ghana, we were expecting the OSP to investigate the matter by inviting the known government official 1, intermediary 5, shareholders of company D, and the Airbus group. He goes on. But according to the OSP, he visited government official 1, which is John Dramani Mahama, for further information and engaged intermediary 5 and company D staffs. According to the OSP, Martin Amidu continues, after these engagements, he believes nothing wrong was carried out by those individuals involved. The question is, why the OSP office did not invite the Airbus company to also testify or to prove the bribe they paid, and to who, aside intermediary 5, was giving some of the 3 million euro. Clearly, the OSP has not handled the case to its logical conclusions, and I, Martin Amidu, will wish the Attorney General and the police take over the case. The OSP should tell us his reason for not extending invitation to the Airbus company to prove the allegations. This mistakes from the OSP has created doubt in many people's mind as to believe or disagree with the OSP. Secondly, Martin Amidu continues, after reading the observations of the OSP, it was clear that conflict of interest has been noticed. So the advice from the OSP on this is totally surprising. If a certain president can use his brother's company for a deal like this, which has generated international attention, every serious country would have pushed beyond what we are now seeing as a country. Thirdly, Martin Amidu goes on what basis did the OSP conclude that the 3 million paid to the brother of John Mahama, intermediary 5, was for service rendered when the company says it was a bribe? Fourthly, the OSP should publish the email from John Mahama to the Airbus company for everyone to see. We just want to appreciate the process. Finally, Amidu says, the Airbus case has become political. So possibilities of taking the security of the country into consideration on this matter is very important, but the OSP could have done a better job than this one. Okay. The confusion is here. 1, yes, government official 1 is John Dramani Mahama. So what it means is that the case as being ruled by foreign courts, Mahama could have excused himself, which he didn't do. So what is next? I don't quite understand what he's saying. Yes, government official 1 is John Mahama. So he says that what? He should have excused himself. Okay, maybe we can explore this further. Those of you lawyers who understand it, you can explain to us. Number 2, he says that, and then he ends by saying, the Airbus scandal, again, the OSP has disappointed Ghanaians, a country called Ghana, by Martin Amidu. So just a summary of it, viewers. The Airbus scandal that's been talked about indicates clearly that 3 million United States dollars was paid as, well, OSP says it was for service provided by John Mahama's brother, and the other one says that it was a bribe. We all were fumbling about who is government official 1. The OSP has identified government official 1 as John Dramani Mahama. He had an interview with him, which he didn't tell us the details. He need not to. He's the OSP. But Martin Amidu is asking questions about an email that John Mahama sent to Airbus that he should write. What I agree with Martin Amidu, though, that perhaps OSP should have spoken to Airbus as well, because they went under the trial process and were found guilty of bribing Ghanaian officials, including the intermediary 5, who was connected to government official 1. So really, OSP should have spoken to the Airbus company. But I'm sure more of this will come. But that's Martin Amidu's. The more interesting one is Oliver Bakawa Vamaho's own. And this is how he goes. He says, I have been frank. I have seen the Charles Edugboahin report, and I have seen the Airbus report. I am unable to accept that the OSP has been either meticulous, committed, and or understands sufficiently the gravity of his role. Both reports score shoddy work to me. I am not talking about his conclusions necessarily, but how he gets to them. Again, to be clear, I am not pronouncing on anyone's guilt or otherwise, just the porousness of the work of the OSP did. I think Kisi is either tired or dejected. He needs to resign. He needs to resign is what Vamaho says. Hopefully, not under Mampam. I guess that's a derogatory reference to Nana Akufo-Addo. We'll take it, no problem. We forgive him. But as soon as a new president is elected, he needs to hand in his resignation. Shalom, says Vamaho. I have stood here and talked about the OSP's work in leaps and bounds. I have had occasion enough to talk about the OSP's porousness of his work and his work in doing it in media and flying drones and wanting to be seen. He almost suffers from some of the psychosis of Manasseh. Delusions of self-grandeur is what is disturbing them. There's a cure for it. They should go to NS Chemist. There's a yellow medicine. You take one every day. If you take it, you will solve delusions of self-grandeur and megalomania. You will solve it. NS Chemist has it. It's yellow medicine. Take one. You will solve that problem. Kisi Ajabe and Manasseh, you need that tablet. Go and take it. I have a friend who took it. Is gone. He's now very normal. This is your delusions of self-grandeur that goes through your head and the megalomania. You have to go and take the medicine and stop it. That's how they are. So I have talked about his work. Now, it's coming from Oliver, who doesn't even agree with me on political philosophy. He doesn't. We don't agree on political philosophy. But Oliver has noticed as a lawyer that Kisi Ajabe's work is exceptionally porous. Very, very porous. That's the kind of work he does. That's what he does. And when you talk about Charles Edugboahin, do you know how much money? Do you know how much money? That Charles Edugboahin thing, do you know how much money? Anyway.
It's looking good. Now NDC4 can you imagine so NDC4 Felix and Gombenya I have a no southwest southeast. I have a no north account. I have a not enough strategy is there.
Got a step back.
Yes. And no 3 Nana and NDC4 were targeting it. But unfortunately the works that is ongoing, it's NDC4 more young researcher. Yes, yeah. I mean can't resource no
yeah.
But Uncle Bassa such as here. If you won't what those are the half a not for our phone in was a what Ashanti region, Busiabako, and Ashanti for. Half no in the regions independent different. You cannot have the seat. They cannot have the seat. Yes. And when it comes to Ashanti, the offer no back could be a honomodia. The men sabi wo bit to me akọ so means no ye ni year back we bit to me nya 2 bit to me nya back we wo dia yen ha ye ho so at yes ye ha ye ho but the other ones na ye there no we going to activate the people to vote and we'll do everything for people to vote. The Eastern regional NDC is going to lose seats. Oh yes.
Eastern region.
And Bono East, the rising star. Action, no, a honor. David Watson,